I met a lady in the meads, full beautiful, a fairy's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild.
Perhaps John Keats never intended to be remembered as the defining figure from the Romantic era. Or perhaps, when he died in 1821, aged only 25, he had no idea of the impact he will leave on the world. Or perhaps, he did. For his grave bears the words, "Here lies one whose name was writ in water."
The reason we are talking about John Keats today is because one of his works has quite stuck with me ever since I read it about 8 years ago.
Oh, what can ail thee, knight-at-arms, alone and palely loitering? The sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Oh, what can ail thee, knight-at-arms, so haggard and so woe-begone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest's done.
This is a narrative of seduction, enthrallment, bewitchment, dream within a dream, romance, addiction, obsession, and so on. The Knight at Arms from Keats's mysterious yet intense ballad is dying. It is one thing to read this explosive ballad for the story of the knight, but if we peer behind the tragic surface, we can see a writer creating a pact with literary immortality.
Perhaps this is what John Keats intended to tell us, or perhaps this is just scratching the surface.
I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withereth too.
The knight's story begins when he meets a lady in the mead, a fairy's child with wild eyes. There are often two ways of seeing this scene, as the knight too quickly learns. The story then is full of double entendres. Fragrant zone, set her on my pacing steed, and she weeps and sighs full sore. The landscape is lush with meadows and spring, but the story quickly moves from idyllic to horrific. The fairy tale romp turns into imprisonment on a cold hillside.
She took me to her elfin grot, and there she wept and sighed full sore, and there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses 4. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamed, ah, woe betide, the latest dream I ever dreamed on the cold hillside.
What is interesting here is that La Belle is without doubt a fantasy poem, and yet the poem might very well express figuratively what Keats was experiencing in his love life and his health. His brother was dying of tuberculosis in 1818, and even before his brother's death, Keats too would begin to show signs of the disease. That year, he would also fall in love with Fanny Brawne, and by the end of May 1819, Keats had finished La Belle Dame sans Merci, in the heat of his passion for Fanny and the fever of death hanging upon him.
I saw pale kings and princes too. Pale warriors, death pale were they all. They cried, "La Belle Dame sans Merci hath thee in thrall." I saw their starved lips in the gloam, with horrid warning gaped wide, and I awoke and found me here on the cold hill's side.
In the knight's nightmare, he finds himself in a kind of hell, surrounded by all of the lady's previous victims. All of the kings and princes are suggestive of a pattern, the horrid imagery suggestive of the fate that awaits the knight. Love and death, temptation and duty, dream and waking, and the murky suffering of the consequences of ungoverned emotion. Ecstasy and its aftermath of despair. The otherworldly seductress, these are all figures without pity, whose function is to entrap.
And this is why I sojourn here, alone and palely loitering, though the sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing.
With the Belle Dame playing a figure of love, fantasy, and the agent of death, it seems as though Keats has stumbled upon his mirror image as he gazes upon the knight. Because of the way he was able to use the most prominent romantic themes, the stress of self-examination, the fraught duality of eros, death, and individual mortality, is the reason the Knight at Arms in La Belle is a perfect surrogate for Keats' own pathos.
Hey, thank you so much for watching till the end. Click right here to subscribe to this channel so that I get motivated to make more such videos for you guys. See you in the next one.